you dropped a bomb on us. First off, you're the first guy to pick up the fact, and Jamie Rasti's guys have now been, ever since you outed them, they're pretty upfront about it. They're plotting right now. If they can't stop Trump, they know they can't beat him at the polls. They've given up on that. If they can't stop him with election interference, their second redoubt is January 6th, where they're not going to seat him. It's there, and now you do the polling. The vast majority of Democrats, 57% today, when it really hasn't been promulgated, agree with him. Do they not, sir?
Yeah, that's a really interesting part of it, Steve, is that right now, most of those people who are being polled on this particular question, it's probably the first time they've heard of this. It's probably the first time they've even considered that was a possibility for Democrats if they take control of the House. Some will have thought it through. Most obviously wouldn't have. And so when they start to talk about this, when they start actually having these conversations up front on national television, whether it's the Morning Joes of the world or whether it's in their copies of Atlantic magazine that are delivered into their mailboxes, I expect that number to actually harden. I expect that number amongst Democrats to grow, and I expect the sentiment there to harden. I think what they're going to try and do is now portray, and you think about the hypocrisy of all of this, right, is they're now going to try and portray the non-certification of Donald Trump's victory on January the 6th, 2025, as the last day to save democracy. Mark it in your diaries. Write that phrase down. You will start to hear them parrot that day in and day out as the reality rushes up on them. And the reality is rushing up on them not just in the split screen way that we've seen, but also in this thing that we've seen over the last week where they're all really excited about the fact that Joe Biden was actually able to deliver a State of the Union address. They were so excited about it that they in fact forgot that the content wasn't actually that popular with the American public. The fact he was able to stand up there and give the speech, whatever amphetamines they had him on and so forth, that offered them the tiniest little respite, which is why you're not necessarily going to hear about this week, which is also why I decided, and Rasmussen reports decided, that we are going to drop this week, because it's about drawing them out. It's about drawing the argument out. And to your point of the last segment, we are now going to Democrat offices on Capitol Hill and asking them the question, asking members the question, do you support this or not? And let's hear what they have to say for themselves. Because if they're not upfront and honest with their election, with their voting public right now, for the election that's coming up in November, then you can see a scenario where this actually makes the situation far worse at the ballot box for the Democrats.
Far worse. One more time, Raheem, just read the question. It's not if Trump stole the election. It's read the question. You got the question's everything. This is what the 57% said. Yes, I'm for that. What's the question?
Yeah, and I encourage everybody, if they can, to go to thenationalpulse.com and get this data. We've put a nice graphic up there as well, but I'll read the question for you here. Some Democrats in Congress have said that if Trump wins this year's election, they will vote against certifying the election results because of Trump's role in the January 6, 2021 Capitol riots. Do you support or oppose Democrats refusing to certify the election results if Trump wins? And Steve, it's worth noting that it's not just Democrat likely voters, 57%, as we've said, who support this move by the Democrats. You look at the numbers amongst black voters, 59% of those polled. You look at the numbers against moderates and independents, or those who register themselves as no party affiliation in this poll, and the number ranges from 30 to 40%. This is huge. This is the fight that the Democrats currently think they want. Let's let them have it.
Let's let them have it. Let's get it with both barrels. I know you got to bounce real quickly. Portugal, the Populist Nationalist Party, I think 18%. What's the symbolism of Orban being with President Trump in Mar-a-Lago for basically the whole day and a big celebration party that night in his honor? How big a deal is that throughout the world?
Well, massive, certainly massive for Viktor Orban domestically as well, coming off the back of this NATO expansion that he's had to fight along the lines of for a while now, and arguably, not to a particularly great W there. So big for him domestically, huge as far as the European populist nationalist parties are concerned. Viktor Orban is very much the plenipotentiary of the populist nationalist right across the European mainland, as much as sort of Nigel Farage is to the English-speaking West. For Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. But the result in Portugal is a big one. Chega, which is the quote-unquote far-right party, right, the populist nationalist party of the political right, will now be thrust into a kind of king-making situation in Portugal, with the centre-right party kind of trying to keep their distance from them, very much a conservative party / UKIP style election that you're seeing take place in Portugal at the moment. And of course, a big thing coming out of the United Kingdom this morning as well, the former deputy chairman of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom defecting to the Reform Party, that's Nigel Farage's party, giving them their first member of parliament. And of course, the results in Ireland too, where over this weekend, ordinary people, the Irish people, rejected the elite, the media, the party, the government's attempts to rewrite the role of family. It was probably what I would call the ultimate act of political hubris. That is the confluence of the negation of history, God, and family, all in that referendum in Ireland this weekend. So as far as Europeans are concerned, pretty successful weekend.
Pretty good. Where we go to get a National Pulse? You guys are on it all day long.
Yeah, and we've had a particularly busy morning this morning. thenationalpulse.com/war room. As I always tell the audience, we are 100% reliant on you, ladies and gentlemen. No ads, no corporate money, no billionaire backing, no political cash. thenationalpulse.com/war room. Thank you, Steve.